So there's a specific word amongst creatives that always sparks a reaction, and that is whips. Now, to anyone who isn't an artist, that word might bring something entirely different to mind. But for us, we know exactly what that word means, and the mixed emotion is signals to our brains. On one end, it feels like endless ideas and possibilities waiting to be brought to life. But on the other end, time limits, procrastination, and sometimes failure. In fact, it's extremely common for artists to say things like, I'm drowning in an endless pile of whips, myself included. Over the past few years, I've unfortunately found myself relating more and more with that saying. And if you're watching this video, then I think it's safe to say that you might probably be in the same boat. So in this video, I want to talk about the fear that stops us and holds us back from finishing our art projects, how it's been holding me back specifically, and a very helpful mindset shift that has been helping me overcome this problem. If you're a returning subscriber, you might recognize this sketch from a previous video where I asked you to vote on which unfinished piece I should work on first between 3 whips. But, as you can guess from the timing of this video, yeah, it took quite a while to get here. Even though I made up my mind to finish this whip back in January, I still struggle to actually start working on it. Originally, this was just a random sketch that I made back in 2022. I had the idea of creating a lush, vibrant illustration of a woman emerging from flowers. Unfortunately, it ended up as one of my many unfinished whips. But over the years, I found myself constantly daydreaming of what the final piece could look like. So, when it won the votes, I was super excited and felt that initial rush flooding back in. I jumped straight to work creating a mood board with references and inspirations and refined the sketch to match my current style and vision for the illustration. At the start of any new project, we're always full of energy and excitement, so we tend to see the process through rose-colored glasses. But the reality is rarely all roses and sunshine. And we often forget that even the most beautiful rose always comes with thorns. So, quick question for you. Why do you think most artists struggle to actually finish their art even when they start out so excited for the idea? Please share the first answer that comes to mind in the comments. Now, if you thought procrastination, laziness, or anything similar, then yes, you're absolutely right. Those are all very valid reasons. The truth is, there are countless reasons why we may struggle with finishing a piece, and they most likely differ from artist to artist and even between different artworks. But what if I told you there's another reason that you might not have considered? An overarching deeper reason that all those struggles quietly trace back to. Love. Now, I know that might sound a little dramatic, but hear me out. Obviously, I'm not talking about romantic love. I mean the love, care, and passion we have for our ideas. The kind of love that makes us want everything we create to be perfect and just right. We often focus on the negative emotions like perfectionism, fear, procrastination, and how to overcome them. But in reality, those struggles only exist because we love and care so deeply for our crafts. You see, the more we care about an idea, the more we want it to live up to the expectations we've set for it. And of course, those expectations can build up a lot of pressure. This is why the start of every project feels so exciting, but As we get further into the piece, we start to see the full scope of what needs to be done, get discouraged or overwhelmed, and the love slowly begins to turn into struggle. Suddenly, the parts that were fun or inspiring aren't enough to keep you motivated, and your attention begins to drift to a shiny new idea. You tell yourself things like, I'll come back to it later. But as we both know, that's probably never going to happen. Before long, you find yourself trapped in this cycle, and over time, you end up with a whole bunch of unfinished projects and whips that will probably never see the light of day. I know this because that's exactly what happened to me. And to be honest, I came dangerously close to falling right back into this trap. While working on this piece, I began to doubt whether the original concept was creative enough. So I felt the need to change things up and make it more unique, even though that was completely different from the initial emotion and story I wanted to capture. Not to mention the added pressure of having announced it publicly on YouTube, with many of you looking forward to seeing the final piece. I found myself focusing more on what would look cool online without considering whether it felt right and authentic to me. And that began to reflect in the painting as well. Okay, so it's another day. And this is actually ironic because this video is meant to be about completing and finishing your artwork. But I've kind of run into a predicament. I hate it. I actually hate what I'm doing. I kind of just want to throw it in the trash and forget that it ever existed. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Let me just show you guys. Let me show you. So this is where we started off, and I kind of kept working on it a bit more. It was kind of looking like she was lying on a field of grass, which wasn't my intention. She's meant to be coming out, not necessarily lying down on a field of grass. So I kind of cut that out, and I thought this like contrast between the white background and the flowers on this side would make it read better, which I think it did. And then I started working on it, but the more I kept working on it, the more it just felt like I was moving further and further away from the original idea and intention. Also, the colorway that I chose was the first colorway that I made back in 2022. But the more I sat on this, the more I feel like this would look so much better with cooler tones, that I just feel like the vision I have is not this. Yeah, I've done all this work and I don't like it. At this point, I was faced with two choices: to keep working on it and hoping that something will somehow miraculously work out, or simply call it quits. But I decided to do something different instead. So rather than continuing to work on something that didn't feel right, or giving up entirely and letting this idea remain an unfinished whip, I chose to stop, retrace my steps, and start over. A while back, I watched a video by Natalie Lynn, and in it, Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon, explains the concept of Passio, which really stood out to me.
By the way, I don't mean passionate like Natalie likes it. I mean passionate like passion. And the Latin root of the word passion is passio, which means to suffer. When you see a shot like this and you peel back the detail, you know somebody suffered for it. 6 hours of...
In an era where we only see final products online, it's easy to assume that creating art is always a smooth and straightforward process. So when things start to feel uncomfortable, we often internalize negative thoughts, which ends up affecting our ability to enjoy the creative process. But here's the actual truth: struggle is a part of the creative process. It's why artists keep creating even through the frustration, and even though it isn't always financially rewarding. The problem isn't laziness or lack of skill, it's because we're passionate. And once you understand this, then you can shift your mindset to make this work in your favor rather than against it. I did actually make a lot of progress. maybe not a lot, but I did make progress on recoloring it and starting from scratch. And I think it was a good call because I kind of like the direction that it's heading right now. So we're working on it today. And in order to encourage me, I'm hoping to like romanticize the experience a bit. I found out there's a cat cafe not so far from where I live. And I'm thinking that I could go there, pet some cats, and draw. Like what what other better way to spend the day? So I got my iPad, gonna pick my laptop as well, and let's go draw. So at first, the idea of starting over seemed really daunting, especially when I had already made so much progress. But if I truly wanted this piece to meet my expectations, I had to give myself the grace to take my time and give it all the care it deserved. Caring for something means committing your time, energy, and love to it. Even if that means having to go back and restart the entire piece from scratch. And yes, I know this is easier said than done. In fact, I'll be honest, I found myself falling back into those negative thoughts again and again, even while reworking this piece. But I had to constantly remind myself that it doesn't all have to be just struggle. I could also allow myself to simply enjoy the process. So rather than seeing this experience as a setback, I chose to embrace it as a blank slate. A chance to reconnect with that original excitement that I had at the start of the project. Once I had this mindset shift, working on this piece became so freeing. And the only thing on my mind was seeing this illustration till the end. At the end of the day, the real reason why you struggle to finish your art is because you love it so much. If you didn't really care for the idea, then you wouldn't even bother struggling to create it in the first place. So instead of letting those negative emotions get to you, focus on the excitement of bringing your ideas to life, even with all the struggles and frustration that comes with it, because that's all part of the process. And that's what truly makes it worth it at the end, rather than just letting it die as an unfinished whip. So, my challenge for you is to pick up an abandoned whip, maybe one that you've been thinking about for so long but have just been procrastinating working on it for whatever reason, and just finish it. Even if it doesn't come out exactly as you would hope, it will be one less unfinished artwork for you to stress about. And to everyone who voted for me to finish this piece first, I know it took a while, but I really hope you like the final illustration as much as I do. I'm really glad I took my time to bring this idea to life. And I think I was able to successfully capture the mood and story that I wanted to convey. Since this illustration is so special to me, I am very excited to announce that I've decided to turn it into my very first illustration process pack. It includes the full-time process of making this illustration from start to finish, a narrated walkthrough explaining my thought process while working on it, as well as a visual step-by-step guide PDF tutorial. So if you're interested in diving deeper into the more technical and creative process of creating this illustration, then you can pick up the package on my Gumroad store linked down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that it encourages you to finally finish that art whip. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video.